Hi, and welcome to the Bigger, Better, More podcast with Hoku and Emily. We'll be having high vibrational conversations about everything, from where we are to where we're headed. Stay tuned for the full episode.
No, I'm ready. Let's go. I want to be out of my own way. It's not fun anymore. It never was.
Right.
It's not fun. It never was, and it's not moving anything forward. So I'd rather move by leaps and bounds, like the grasshopper.
Yeah. Giant leaps forward. But it has more to do with you letting go of everything you thought you needed to handle so you can be free enough to move into ways the universe handles and you get to receive and be the fullness of you. And that's what they're saying. It's like that we want you to know you've got everything you need to in every kind of way to be the fullness and fulfill on who we want to be now. This is for both of us. It's this opportunity of saying, okay, we've cultivated it this far. Now we get to be shown how it really goes. But how it really goes is a feeling space now, right? And orienting to that, and orienting again to that, and orienting to what feels good, and following what aligns with that. Because they're saying we're still not fully, following the feel-good flow. Like this is, that's job 2. First get out of the way, then align with what there is to align with. But it's more magnetic than it is actual, right? Like you don't have to try to do any of this. It's greater allowing. It's taking the ride and interacting when you want to say yes and not interacting when you don't.
Can we talk about ease and your definition of it with your guidance, and then how you have allowed for more of it just as it self-fulfills and continues in your life?
Yes, well,
that was not me. That wasn't me.
Well,
I
it's...
want to take my identity off of that one. Continue.
Well, when all this weirdness came about, my agreement in it was, if it's easy, I will, I'll follow suit. If it's too hard, if it's something beyond where I can feel like I can do it, I don't want to do it. But I also wanted to make it easy in the sense of information and direction and how people understand things. So it gets to be easy all the way around. But as we know, easy also is a feeling space that happens when aligned happens. Easy is a space that happens when clarity happens too. Easy is a space that happens when you're having fun. And a greater allowing space happens because of all of that, because it gets to be more expansive. When you're feeling easy, you feel comfortable. When you're comfortable, you're relaxed. When you're relaxed, you're expanded. When you're expanded, you're more available to everything that you desire. Not to bad things, because we don't align with bad things anymore. That's the opportunity, is to start aligning with what actually feels good, fulfills for us, is fulfilling in what we want to be, do, have, and allow that energy to, align us with the feel-good flow. But it's happening already. That's the thing, part of this, I feel like we've both noticed that slow down effect of, and it's like, yeah, so we can notice what we're doing, because we used to be so busy we didn't notice that we didn't have hard lives or more. We didn't notice that we had relationships we didn't want to maintain anymore. Now, we all got to slow down and we got to look at our lives and we want to make some changes perhaps. So now is the opportunity to do that. Having let stuff go, now what? Choose some more, align some more. But again, I like the path of ease because everything else feels so hard all the time. Like it's like to me, it's like easy will draw me forward, hard will not. You know, I don't want to
Hmm.
exchange hard experiences for other hard experiences, or even like a little better. You know, again, we're making a bigger shift out than that. It's not a little better in any kind of way. It's more. It's bigger. It's, you know, more expansive. It's the They're like stay on
Well,
brand, bigger, better, more.
bigger, better, more. Well, but the more in everything that we've talked about, it's been so clear to me that the more you've chosen ease and oriented towards it, even in times when things weren't showing up that way, in air quotes, the way we thought they would or should. But the more you've oriented towards it, the more you've gotten it. So you actually have experienced more and more ease
Oh
because you've
yeah.
let more and more ease
Well,
occur. Like that is a choosing.
I mean, and the new is pretty much easy. It's letting go of the old that was challenging. I mean, it seems like such a weird thing, but it's like it really gets hammered in when you're in survival mode that you have to be a certain way to get by. And it's like that's the part you can't have that ease if you don't, you know, if you have all of that stuff in space. You know, it's like all the mundane, I have to stay protected, I have to, you know, keep my walls up. I have to be a certain way to survive. And it's like those are all things we want to move past so we can be free in being who we really are. And, you know, for me, it's more than being who you are, though. Realizing who you are plays a role in the bigger all that is, you know, and that you are a gift in a certain way to the world. But you're not a gift if you don't be who you are. You know, it's like that's the opportunity. If you never, like I could see, it's like I was not on this trajectory for, you know, most of my life. And to me, that the fact I wouldn't have done what I've done in the last 20 years working with clients, it would make me really sad to think that I had another pathway that was more mundane. You know, it's like because I feel like I'm contributing in a way that I never thought I would be able to by bringing in they're saying bringing in that ease, you know, bringing in encouragement to align with who you really are. Because a lot of people aren't being encouraged to be who they really are. They're being encouraged to conform or be right in a certain kind of dominating way. And it's like, no, you get to be right in a very free kind of way, you know, but it is for yourself and to align with others there, but not to make others wrong because of it. You know, we're not playing that game. We all get to be and exist, but that gets to be easy when you allow for that. It's not so easy when you don't. But that's the whole point. Like we have to move a whole bunch of things out of the way to get to a freer, more loving, more expansive state, you know, and all those things of judgment and, you know, fear and limitation get to fall away. They get to fall away. They get to. Sorry,
It's a
I'd say
get
that
to.
again. To get to.
It's worth reiterating. Oh my God, it's worth reiterating all the time because things can be a get to or a have to depending on how you're looking at it and depending on how you're choosing it. Well, and as soon as you said, there are so many things that get to fall away and that get out of the way. It starts with you. Step
Yeah.
one,
Well,
right?
right, because well, the thing, you know, the funny thing, I was, you know, part of you, the first part is not, well, I was making jokes that step one is get out of the way, you know, and really it's like you have to know who you really are. When I say get out of the way, it means get who you thought you were out of the way so you can feel into who you really are. You know, because it's a feeling space. It's not a thinking space. It's not I think I am. It's a I feel I am in a knowing way, not in a, you know, manufactured kind of way. There's an isness that exists beyond experiential knowing of oneself. And that's what we're talking about, moving into that bigger knowing that was already right coming in, was already good, you know, maintained that underneath an experience that didn't feel in alignment with that and now wants to blossom out to be that in the world for the world too. But, you know, we get to benefit as well. We get to be the ones that fulfill at a new level of being who we really are, but doing it in love and freedom and expansiveness, you know, in our true beingness, not in the limitations we were put into. But it's recognizing you weren't any of that ever anyway. You wore a bad outfit for a while. Yep, we do that, you know. The further you look back, the worse they get. But that's the idea. We get to grow. It's like you're never meant to look how you did before. We get to evolve. That's the fun of it. Watching how we've grown and how things have changed and how we've evolved and what's new now. The greater potential.
Well, I want to talk about the experience thing, of the experience of coming in to have this experience, and then knowing that this is just a temporary thing, right? So yes, we can come in and have this experience and have the choose your own adventure in a way that isn't explained to us throughout most of our life here for however long we're here. That's not what is promoted necessarily at a certain level. Right. That you come in, you have an experience, and then you go back to whatever we are.
Well,
right? Whatever is the cosmos and the universe. So right. Yeah, let's talk about that experience. We want to experience all of it.
It's so funny because it's like I want to do the short answer and the long answer. The short answer my guides give me all the time is you came here to roll around in the mud, to get dirty, to have all the experiences, and to this time clean off and get clean and clear while you're embodied still. And it's like that's what we're in the process of. Now, is that a big metaphor for coming in and having all the experiences of the potential of life and then evolving past them in this huge, bigger than normal shift of consciousness? Yep. It's so funny. Sometimes it's just rolling around in the mud. Sometimes it's like going to the carnival. It's like, okay, you go to the carnival knowing there'll be a myriad of experiences, right? Some good, some bad, whatever. But that's the part that we're moving past now. It's like, okay, we don't have to live in the carnival anymore. And in that knowing, if we get to be in our creator beings, and if we get to be free, and we get to create from love and new cooperative aligning with others, now what's possible? Did that answer the question? I don't know if it answered the question. I'm sorry.
No, you did. You did. Well, the short answer in particular, the only thing I was pointing towards before was if we're here for the experience, then it's just kind of, I don't even know what the question was, but just talking about or reiterating that it is a choose your own adventure, and that at this point in our timelines and in your timeline, you're choosing ease, and you have been, and that wasn't what you chose before. But tying into this is temporary, like these are the good old days of whatever cliche you want to use.
Right. Well, it's part of the evolving.
Now we're in the new now moment.
It is. It's part of the evolving, and that's why they talk to us about being in the now, because if I've had this problem a lot because I've always been able to envision better. So regardless of how good the now is, I can always see it being better. And so there's a little bit of the, me wanting to lean into that instead of really own or, kind of soak in the what is, because I always know there's more. But that's where they're saying it's like, be where you are and enjoy what is and know there is more coming. That's kind of like the Abraham, what is it? I can't remember the saying. It's like satisfied and eager for more or something like that. It's like, they say that as a way of saying it's both, because it's being in the present moment of the now, and it's knowing there is more good to come. But again, we're talking about what we talked about earlier today. It's like knowing that's what's happening instead of the fear notions we've gotten from the mundane world of, it might not work out and it probably won't, and you probably won't have what you need to get it together. There's like a lot of fear notions that are like floating to the top, and it's like, but that's where we have to be powerful in our choosing and saying, okay, not that. And guess what? It hasn't been that. As bad as my life has been at any moment, it hasn't been that bad recently. And because of, current knowings, ideally we'll be aligning with more, high vibrational beingness and align with things that are that high vibration. I know I took a curveball there.
Oh, it's so good. I just also I found the Abraham quote. It's basically what you said. Be deeply satisfied and ready for more. Bigger, better, more. That's it.
But that's that available space. That's that, eager for more is that showing up at Disneyland ready to have fun. And I get it. Like, I am the worst perpetuator of this because I was always like, how could this go bad? Like, I was just always prepared for that. And it's like, now I have to the opportunity is to shift it into not only do I not need to be concerned about this every day of every moment doing everything, I can know now and leaning into a perpetual way of knowing that this gets to be a fun thing to do, that I get to play this bigger game, that there gets to be opportunity in aligning with me, in aligning with what I desire, in aligning with the world from there. Like, that gets to be the new adventure, and that's a lot more fun. And they're saying we're choosing into that direction, but we also there's something that you were saying earlier, and they're wanting to go back to of, we chose this already. This is not you just waking up saying, oh my goodness, this is all here. It's like, this is your true self suddenly revealing itself in a bigger way so you can see the perspective that was given before you came in. But in that you can also let go a little bit more, knowing you don't have to control where the ride takes you, right? You've got a trajectory going on, right, and you keep choosing into the more. It's not that we can't, we can still choose how all this goes in our lives and have the trajectory that we put forth. We wanted to anchor in, this more high vibrational being, knowing of our true essential beingness experienced on the planet. Okay, how are we doing that now? I don't know, but a bunch of us are going to play and find out, like, how does it get to work out when it all gets to work out? When we get to fulfill on our true beingness that is divine, that gets to partake in the rest of the all that is in a more congruent, aligned, knowing, easy, clear way.
Clarity, ease, and alignment. I mean, it's so funny that it's
trifecta path.
But it's just how funny that it's like the three in the old and the three in the new. The three: judgment, limitation, fear, and the three: clarity, alignment, and ease. And it's so funny how well I feel like each group of words energetically holds what exists in each on either side of the fence.
I mean, and you've got it, because it's actually, we're letting go of fear, limitation, and judgment from the old. The pathway is ease, alignment, and clarity. And the new is love, freedom, and unlimited being. Like, we've got it's like we have and it's not that it's just these things ever, but that's what's shifting, right? We're shifting out from the old and into the new, and by means of the pathway. And it's like, but that's where we want to orient then. We want to orient to those things that are taking us into the new, because fear is going to keep you in the old. And if you become high vibrational, holding fear in your energy will be really uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Well, and or as does limitation or judgment. It just starts being unpalatable for us to hold the energy of limitation in those kinds of ways when you become more loving and free and back to your truer nature. But that's what we're doing. And again, we get to do us first because we have to. It's like this is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is how I get to be a more loving person by loving myself first and being that and allowing that experience to cultivate and expand.
I'm just letting that land. I'm just letting that land right there. I have timestamps written down for each one of these.
I feel like I've been like sporadic. Sporadic is the word that comes to me.
No, I actually really felt the flow of what you were just saying too, in particular, because I couldn't repeat back what you said, but I know it was good. So that's what I know.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like they're just getting us accustomed to the next level vibrational energy, because it's not they're showing me it's kind of like getting used to it in you, as you, on you, and then noticing where it aligns, right? And they're like, we've already had this, but we have it when it's loud, right? Like you can meet somebody and go ching-a-ling, ching-a-ling, like and it's like, but we don't, we're not deciphering discernment. They're saying we're not using our discernment in everything because we still have kind of this weird acceptable level of not okay. And they're saying at least we want to be at least at the level of okay, right? Like it needs to at least feel like a place we can hang out for a minute until it gets better, right? Because they're saying anything less than that is not good. But that's where they're saying it's like, when they're saying they're not, because I'm like, uh-oh. And they're like, no, we're not wanting you to look at this like you're looking for places where you have uh-ohs. We're looking at this so you realize that most of your life is already pretty okay. But in that okayness and the acknowledgement of it, are you willing to allow it to be better now? But they're saying it's like you've moved this entire, they're saying notice how much you've moved from how much of my life I used to enjoy to how much of my life I'm enjoying now. Like the percentage is going up. So let's continue that till it's 100%. Until the 100% starts spilling over to your friends and people around you get to benefit 100%. Right? Like you encourage them to their fullness of being, and then they're their gift they are to the world, and so on and so on and so on. Like that's our master marketing plan. It's multi-level marketing at its best. It's a one-to-one. I do me, you do you. We all say, look at us, and not as a you have to be this way, as a new potential, right? And not as a do it my way, is a create in alignment with you. Because that's what my guides do. It's like you don't have to choose any of this. Choose the higher knowing, though. Choose the higher path, and you shall have the fullness of your true beingness at some point. Because that's where that leads.
We talked about knowing that you know, and then knowing that you know that you know. But then I love that this has been brought even to the next knowing level, to now we don't know how things are working out because it's so new. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Well,
and finding the clarity and the alignment and the ease in the not knowing, which used to be a place of discomfort where we looked for control.
Right. But control always comes from holding fear of, if I don't know what this is, there's going to be a problem, right? That's also what makes us feel vulnerable. Mm-hmm. It's like, this could be a problem. And it's like that's the thing about moving into the new. The opportunity is to not have that be a negative effect. right? There's not a judgment of things could go bad or wrong or one way or another. All of it's the adventure of your life. And we're not saying that like you're moving into inviting challenging circumstances, but it doesn't mean there'll never be challenging circumstances. It means you'll view them from a perspective of having an experience in this life and being a divine being, which comes from love, which comes from compassion, which comes from clarity, which comes from, a greater divine perspective. And that's a whole, that's a whole new thing. But they're saying it's like to back it up a little bit, it's like this is why you need the opportunity to tap into your feeling space as a knowing is so important, because this is your direction, right? This is your what is Abraham, since we're referencing Abraham Hicks, the inner guidance system. This is telling you what you need to know, and if you're in alignment with what's you're currently experiencing. And sometimes that's an idea, sometimes that's an opportunity, sometimes it's something that hasn't even occurred yet, but you can feel how you feel about it without having it be present in the now. Because we can, basically they're saying we can choose things even if they're, as something that's out ahead of us, because you will feel the space of it. But that's, again, they're saying it's like that's why we need to orient to that space and what that brings, because we look at it as foreign right now, but if you start orienting to those feel-good spaces, that space that is unknown will no longer be foreign, because that's the place we're talking about. That place where things land, where you get fulfillment, where it feels good, where you meet somebody, where things come together in a magical kind of way. That's what we're talking about. When you orient to all of those spaces, that's what we're talking about, the spaces in the new, because you're going to cultivate more of those feel-good spaces as an alignment space, as a meeting the world in that space, because it starts occurring to you, this could be this easy. This could be this fun. This could be exactly at the tempo, at the pace, at the alignment to everything that's about me being me, and allowing for that to occur in the world as an experience, as your creation. Because we all get to choose at this level our, aligned space. But again, they're saying that might be an unknown space in the sense that we haven't intellectually we haven't categorized it all yet. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be good, because we have already had the good experiences enough to know that it is, and the potential of it is, because they're saying that's what we get called forward with, is this better, this bigger, better, more, this feeling of excitement that says, hey, not only is there this, but there's a whole bunch of, stuff we haven't even tried yet. All the flavors, all the colors, all the experiences, there's still more in the greater potential of more of what we want. And not as like a fantasy land, but as, these are your paint sets. This is what you get to create from. You get to create from love and freedom and unlimited being. You get to create from, ease and joy and fun and alignment and clarity, right? All these are new. They're not new ingredients, but they're more rarefied. They're clarified. They're in purer forms, because love without the impediment of fear is a different thing. Right? And as we extricate the fear and the judgment and the limitation, we have new experiences in the fullness of these aspects that were previously polluted by those other things. And now we get to be in that. But they're saying it's like, in talking about it, we know what this looks like. Now, are we weirded out that it doesn't have a specific thing attached to it? Like, we don't know how it's going to manifest in our world? It's like, yes, because we've been taught that we should know that. And it's like, but why? The adventure is, I'm up for the highest good. Like, what is that now? What is exciting for me now? What's calling me forward? But it's a bigger playing a game at a bigger level as your true self, engaging with the universe as a potential creation, instead of subject to all of the world and you get to deal with it. It's like, we're not doing that anymore. That's the old way. The new potential is. And they're saying, and if you only looked at that without that polluted sense of the world, you would not be afraid of it. because you've been taught to fear it. You've been taught to say unknown could be bad and wrong, and we're saying love will not be bad and wrong. Freedom will not be bad and wrong. Your unlimited divine beingness will not be bad and wrong. Never was, never will, won't be again. But again, that's what we're stuck in sometimes, is that old sense of could be bad. And it's like, but that's not what we're choosing. We're choosing it, better than we've ever known it to be, in alignment in a way that I've never experienced, because I've never followed my feel-good flow in this way before. I've never said yes, yes, yes to things that aligned with me and no, no, no to the things that didn't, so completely that I started to only align with what aligns with me. But that's the new experience.
Right. It also feels like, because you were talking about we're not bad and wrong, right? Now, I love that. I also loved when you said something earlier, and I feel like this was earlier on the call tonight, where you asked me, are you willing to risk being wrong about, but in this sense, being wrong about how I think it should go, or even how I I guess it is how I think it should. It's the limitation. Are you willing to risk being wrong about how you think it should go to know that it's actually going to be right however it turns out? And that was really pivotal when you said that to me, because it also took the stigma feels like the wrong word, but it took the heat off of the word wrong. Like, it didn't make me wrong if I was wrong about how something could unfold. Right? It was taking the heat off of it of somehow if I'm wrong about this, then I'm wrong in general.
Right.
It's taking that away and being like, if I'm wrong about this, maybe there's something else. There's something better, and not in a toxic positivity way, in a very real and yet magical, open for more kind of way.
Well, and it's choosing your perspective, right? It's saying I'm willing to line up with what I desire, knowing something else could occur, but when we say that, we act like it's always going to be bad. It could be better, right? But this specific perspective also came from my desire to, a long time ago I chose, I know I've said this to you before, I decided either I was going to trust people knowing I was going to be wrong sometimes, or I could trust or not trust people and be right all the time. And I did not want to be right all the time about people being untrustworthy, right? Like, that's not where I wanted to live. Although it was a perspective that lots of people hold and seems reasonable almost. It's like, yes, that makes sense. I don't trust people. But the opportunity then becomes, rather than, lining up with that, line up with, I trust people, and I also have the potential of, things, like, I'm air quoting, not working out, because I'm going to say everything always works out. Because we didn't come here not to do something or to do something. We came here to have experiences, and that's what we're doing. We didn't even come in here not to die, because every single one of us knows we're going to die. And if we don't, somebody makes us aware of it pretty early on, like, you're going to die, right? So we all know this. This is not a big, surprise to anybody. So what do you do in the time you're given? That's the adventure, but it's rarely given to us in that kind of state. It's given to us, and this is the way it is, and this is the way you have to do it, instead of as a new potential. And that's what we're saying. It's like, okay, yes, all of that exists. That is all choices. They're even valid choices for whatever level you are. But if you want to become high vibrational, aligning with your true being is what's called for now. And if you want to be a creator being, you have to align with that and then take command of it a little bit. You get to take your own choice, your choosing, your alignment, your creation, your beingness, and bring it all into the new. But that's a new space. Again, not really bad, or there's nothing unfortunate about any of this, right? It's like, yes, we've been in circumstances that have been less than optimal. We know what those things are. We've seen them, and if you didn't know about them before, you probably do now, right? Like after this last year or so, it's like we know what's up. Okay, so if not that, then what? Right? That's what we're moving into. The then what? What would be better than all of this? What could be potentially, a win-win-win-win-win for everybody? Because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a sustainable way. Sustainable means able to be repeated and doesn't run over other people or other environments or other circumstances. Like, there is a highest good for all that exists. We just haven't gotten that far. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't point ourselves in that direction, right? It's like, that's the opportunity, is to move past what we've experienced before and to align with a higher potential in a greater knowing way of we are this in our, truest sense of being. Now, did we come here to be toddlers and teenagers and play on the planet and do all kind of things? Yeah. I said it like that because that's Hawaiian accent. All kind of things. But this is a new... Well, it's funny because it's like it has been in the background all the time. I read Rumi, who is, I don't know what century he even came from, but, many hundreds of years ago. And it's a perspective that I can align with what my perspective is today. So it's not that it hasn't been there. We just haven't been abiding by, a wisdom that could be a framework. I'm not saying that Rumi needs to be a framework for anything, but there's new potentials that have been there that we haven't, wholeheartedly embraced as potentials. And I feel like that's what's happening now. I don't feel like that's what's happening. They're saying it's like, no, this is what's happening right now. For those who choose it. And again, for those who don't, right. Guess what? They're going to, this doesn't exist. This didn't exist before I woke up to it either. I called it hogwash. Well, I didn't call it hogwash. I don't talk like that. But, I didn't really align to it as anything before a certain point. And now it's like, oh, okay, this is who I am now. But how cool is that?
And here we are.
How much evolution? Yay.
Cool. Right. And that evolution can happen rapidly because time is not a factor in it. It's not about that. It's not about... time can be a factor in terms of time stamps and in terms of experience and in terms of here in this new moment. But the point is not the time that it takes.
Well, and it's so funny to me because it's like it's starting to occur to me as strange that we took all these organizing factors and made them mean something. It's like, because time is just, it's meant to be a tool to organize yourself, and now it means something. Oh, you didn't get it done in time. Oh, you didn't show up in time. Oh, you didn't do this in this amount of time of life. You look like this in this amount of time of life. Like, what? What are we doing? Why are we measuring things by time except for in a way that actually serves us? Because it's not really when you take it away. I mean, but that's what's been happening. We've had the even the structure of it taken away because we can no longer feel the sense of time in the same kind of way. Why? Because we've detached from it. We do what we do when we do it, and we don't say, it's like, okay, I'm moving to the next thing. It's not given by watching the clock and saying, okay, I'm done. It's like, yeah, sometimes you say I should go to bed now, but do you? No, you don't. You go to bed when you go to bed. But they're saying it's like you could even let yourself, off the hook for that even. It's like, no, I'm having fun until I have, until I'm done having fun. When I get tired, that's when I go to bed, And have that be, because isn't that a better agreement than I have to go to bed because if I don't, I'm going to choose ahead of time to be not good tomorrow? Right? Because isn't that the agreement we make? I remember I used to do this when I'd go out to clubs when I was younger. Okay, I have to get up at what time and how many hours sleep would I get? And, like you do the math and see if you can negotiate that. And it's like, but what if you made the negotiation? It's all working out however it is. And I get to be fully present in each new moment to like soak in the joy and the peace and the ease and the clarity and the fun and the, bliss and the joy and the excitement of every moment.
Isn't that the choice we all want to make now? Doesn't that sound so much more enticing all the time? It's such a funny thing to turn. It's what you do when I've called you before. Hands on the shoulders, turn around. Like, it's so great.
Well,
and it's so great to have that reminder, because when it's there, it feels like the obvious choice.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, it's one of the things we've talked about before. It's like, I feel like people don't realize the options they have for themselves. And I get, a lot of people are stuck in the constructs of their lives because they're very entrenched in a certain people who are a certain way. And if they're somehow different, it might not be okay. And it's like, but that's where I kind of want to invite everybody to be who they are and see what happens, but also not just see who you are. Like who you are, love who you are, cultivate who you want to be, because that's all in there, and then allow it to exchange in the world in a way that works. Because I feel like we're, so many of us are, not really being the fullness of who we really are, and in that we're not, the full gift of who we are either. We're not the, I told you it was really weird for me because I felt like my perspective was always so different that I felt alienated from the world. And it's like, yeah, now my perspective is different and I have something to offer the world. Right? It's like this was there the whole time. And it's like all of our gifts are already within us. They're just waiting to be cultivated, waiting to be freed, waiting to be, exercised and exchanged with the world at whatever level. But again, that's a new allowing that sometimes surpasses what we're told we're meant to do by somebody else or, the world even.
I feel like that's the perfect place to wrap. That was so beautifully said. Yeah, you. Yeah.